Hi, I'm Analytical, the sickeningly entertaining and educational coding queen, sitting here in my very tiny studio apartment, but that's exactly where I film all my content, so we're in for it together, you and me. And today we're going to do a little bit of just basic HTML, basic CSS, JavaScript. I don't even know if we'll get to those things because we're going to do it on FreeCodeCamp. Let me do this transition. Now, bam. We're going to be doing it on FreeCodeCamp. Let's come back to me. I didn't paint this mug for you to not look at it, you know. So we're going to be going through some of the basics on FreeCodeCamp. We'll probably start with HTML because that's just such a good way if you want to start learning to code that you can just dive in, make yourself a website, make a website for someone you love, make a website for me, make a website for a local bar. So many different things you can make a website for. And depending on all that, we can see how far we get, how long any of this takes, and proceed accordingly. Oh my god, thank you, Mr. R or MR. I also have the chat open, so if you want to ask me any questions about code or tech, you can do that as always. And the chat is a great way to do that, and I'll answer them. Or if you want to just tweet them at me, I'm at The Analytical. Lots of different options. So we are doing FreeCodeCamp. I recommend this website a lot to people, but I have not given it the full test myself. I've gone through some of the exercises before, but I think I've reset it all so we can start at the same point. And I think this is going to be fun if you know a little bit of HTML, if you know a little bit of code at all, because I'm not just going to go through these exercises. I will talk about how they are... how, if you're a real engineer, like what kinds of things might come up similar to these exercises or how these things apply to a real engineering job. And as always, if you're in the chat, leave a like on the video, subscribe, keep things afloat. All right, let's do, I'll do email, I guess. Okay, let's not do that. I just don't want to have to open email. I'll do Facebook. And just logging in. I feel like I've already given it access before, but hopefully we're good. No notifications right now. Continue as Anna. And if you're into these sort of live streams also, let me know, because I'm probably going to try to do maybe one a week, or maybe one a week doing code, maybe another one during the week where I just maybe do some sewing or do some wig styling. So I have a lot of stuff I want to get to. I think it'd be fun if we're sitting here chatting, coding, all that fun stuff. All right, so I want to do, so we can just take a look at all the content they have. So they have responsive web design, which is 300 hours of free content, JavaScript algorithms and data structures, which is another 300 hours, high distract, welcome to the stream. There's data visualization. There are so many different challenges you can go through on here. So if you know some of this, you could skip ahead even. You don't have to start at the beginning if you're kind of already a pro. And even though I've done a lot of this before, I think just going through it again might be helpful. Thank you for the compliments on the hair. I'm going to see if I can get the chat in here because they really have room. No, we're just going to jump into the code because I can see the chat. You can see the chat. We're all good. All right, so we're going to do intro to basic HTML and HTML. There are 28 lessons in here, 28 steps. Then maybe basic CSS. We'll kind of see where we go. So HTML, and this is web development, so this is going to end up building a website. But all kinds of web development and all these techniques, you can apply them to app development or to computer development. It all kinds of flows between, so don't think if you're just starting to code and don't want to do web development, starting with HTML is a fine way to just get the ball rolling. So HTML or hypertext markup language, and you don't need to remember if it's hypertext markup language. It's used to describe the structure of a web page. So there's a special syntax that organizes and gives information about the page to your browser, and our browser is Google Chrome. And you can use Firefox, you can use Safari. Those are all different kinds of browsers. And Okay, so elements have opening and closing tags that surround them and give meaning to the content. So there are different tag options you can place around the text to say whether it's a heading, a paragraph, or a list. So here's this example. There's H1, and it's kind of in these in the greater than and less than signs are right next to the question mark on the page, on the keyboard of your typing. And so H1 is like a big header, and then P is for paragraphs, and then OL is for an ordered list. And I just kind of know this stuff because I've played with it a little bit before, but over time you'll start to remember it, and you can always look it up. And then in here they have like each list item. Yeah, so, and then basically this code will become an output looking like this on the page. So they'll have the top level heading, which might have like a big format, and there's this paragraph text, and then in the list, which is nice, it just adds the numbers automatically, so you don't have to, like, if you want to have a really long list, you don't have to type out each number and keep track of them. And like, let's say you want to remove list number 1, then that'd be a pain if you have to like reorder them. Okay, so the hypertext part of HTML comes from the early days of web and its original use case. Pages usually combine or contain static documents. Let me make this a little bit bigger for me and for you following along at home. Pages usually contain static documents that contained references to other documents. These references contained hyperlinks used by the browser to navigate. Basically, I think what they're saying is websites used to just be a bunch of links. So maybe you'd have some information on the page, like let's say you're a gay bar website back in like the 90s when websites were first starting out. Your homepage might have your opening, or it might I might say what the name of the bar is and some information about the bar, and then maybe there's a link for opening hours. You'd click that and then go to another web page which has those opening hours, and it's just a series of links around the web page. But now websites are a lot more complex, and there's scripts and styles you can apply to it. So we'll learn a lot about that, and let's just go into this first lesson. Okay. Success, you've signed into your account. Happy coding. Thank you. Okay, I want to make sure we've got enough room. I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger, and then we'll scrunch it back down. Welcome to FreeCodeCamp's HTML coding challenges. Thank you. These will walk us through web development step by step. Perfect. So first, we're going to build a simple web page using HTML. And I can edit code in this code editor, which I've shrunk down a little bit, which is right over there in the middle. And we see the code that says H1 hello. And this is our HTML element. HTML element. Now go say that 5 times fast. Okay, so most HTML elements have an opening tag and a closing tag. So your opening tags look like this. They've got opening and closing, greater than or less than sign, greater than, less than, whatever they are. And closing tags look like this. So it's the same, except there's this little slash right before the start of the word. And they say they're right there. So each challenge has tests we can run by clicking run the tests. Okay, so we're running the tests. And basically it's in here where the tests are going to run. And our H1 element should have the text hello world. So that kind of tells us what the challenge is supposed to be. Spoiler alert. So to pass on to the next challenge, we need to change H1's text to say hello world. So I'm just going to copy it in because why type it out? If you haven't seen my copying and pasting code video, you 100% need to check it out on my channel after the live stream. It's where I make a website exclusively by copying and pasting code. So yeah, so let's run this tests again. Run the tests. And, we were successful. So we've gotten 4% of this challenge complete. And to go to the next challenge, we can do Control Enter. It might be, okay, it's Command Enter on Mac. And, okay. Over the next few lessons, we'll build an HTML cat photo web app piece by piece. I hope we can customize it a little bit, but even not afterwards, we should definitely try to customize it with some drag photos. So the H2, because I'm allergic to cats, so it's like, no thank you. Great. So the H2 element, we're gonna add an H2 element, which is kind of a smaller heading, and the element tells you the browser. So we're telling the browser about the structure of the page. And for headers, there are heading sizes 1 through 6. So it wants us to add an H2 that says cat photo app. Let me copy this in to create our second HTML element. So we're going to do this right below hello world. So we do our opening, greater than sign or whatever. Close that, paste in our text, and then do a slash. And there's actually a little bit of auto completion here, which is nice. But also, if you're just learning to code, you might want to start typing it out so you can get the feel for it. It might help you learn a little bit better. I would even recommend after watching this, go through these exercises yourself, and that'll be a great way for you to kind of get more comfortable. Okay, so here are all the tests we need. So we need the H2 element. Your H2 should have the closing tag. Your H2 should have the text cat photo app. And our H1 text should still have hello world. Run the tests. And we are crushing it. Okay. So P elements, so paragraphs are just a way to group longer blocks of text. So that's just like a paragraph of text. Even on this website, this whole block is in like a paragraph tag probably. So, and also to note, I guess HTML tags are giving us little tips along the way, which is great because it's just slowly introducing us to HTML. So all the tags are written in lowercase. So that's just good for us to know about. Okay, so what does it want us to do? Create a P element and give it the text hello paragraph. Okay, P. And I'm actually going to complete it in there already. And then I'll copy this in. And let's run the tests. 11% complete. Sickening. Okay. Fill in the blank with placeholder text. Okay, so web developers. So basically when you're like making a website for the first time, or you're in the middle of developing a website for a client or something, let's say your gay bar website that you're making, you want to write a paragraph about what the gay bar is and their history, but you don't have that information yet. So you might put some gibberish in there. And the gibberish a lot of people use is called lorem ipsum. And they basically want us to fill out a paragraph with some of that information. And they've actually given us a cat-themed lorem ipsum. So it has kitty and sit and shed and hairball. So kind of cat phrases or cat words. And right now we do have to use this kitty ipsum because of the test. So we want to progress through this. But I'm pretty sure there are some kind of drag ipsums. Let me see. Drag queen ipsum. I'm not sure about drag queen, but maybe we shouldn't do a video where we make one. There's cupcake, Samuel L. Jackson ipsum, veggie ipsum. So many different fun options when you're coding. So it wants us to replace our paragraph tag with all this text. I'll throw that in there. Get rid of this empty line and run the tests. Bam, bam, bam. Okay. So commenting is a way they want us to learn a little bit about comments. So comments are basically just a way for when you're writing code and working with someone else, or even for yourself, you can just provide a little bit more background as to what's happening in the code. If your code gets really confusing or you have a really long piece of code, you're not going to want to have to read through it all the time. Maybe you want to simplify, say, this is all the cat page information, we'll put it here. So that's a great way for you just to organize your code, and it's something you will see in 100% of professional web development or any kind of code development, because you want to have clear and clean code that you can work with. So it wants us to uncomment this. So basically HTML comments, they kind of have this weird format. It's the greater than sign, exclamation mark, a few dashes, and then there's one down here without the exclamation mark. And normally in whatever kind of code editor you're working with, you can just press a shortcut key and it will do that for you. So don't feel like you have to remember that. Run the tests. Great, we are crushing this, and I'm sure if you were following along at home, you'd be able to do great too. Wait, what happened? Okay. Okay, so now it wants us to comment out H1 and P, but not H2. Okay, so I'm just gonna move this down. Wait, so it wants us to comment H1 and P. Okay, so I'm gonna copy this down so we can have a start. We can start a comment for the P tag, so that's all taken care of. Then we want to end the one above Hello World. So now Cat Photo App is the only one that's showing. Okay, we are pumping through. Fabulous. Okay. Just got a little bit of touch myself up. All right, so now we are, what are we doing? HTML5, we're deleting HTML elements. Okay, so it just wants us to delete this H1. So that's just deleting. That's a pretty easy challenge. They've really broken it down in a great way where it's like each step feels so manageable if it's your first time doing any sort of code. Okay, introduction to HTML5 elements. So there are more descriptive tags. So there's main, header, footer, nav, video, article, section, and more. I have a few videos with web development which use a few of these, so you can check those out. And these give a descriptive structure to your HTML. They make it easier to read, help with search engine optimization. So if you're searching for a website, you want it to be able to be found, and if you organize it in a great way, it's easier for a robot to search that website and understand what's on it. Okay, so a main element, you can nest these elements. So basically, instead of just putting text inside of our elements, we can put other tags inside of our elements. So what it wants us to do is create a second P tag with this new text. So let's just start with that. P, so making another paragraph and closing that tag out. And then it wants us to create a main element and put those two inside of it. And also you can see kind of on the right, this is our website. It's very skinny right now because we're trying to fit all our code on the screen. All right, so there's main to start off our tag. And let's end our main tag right here. And let's run the tests. Oh, yes. It's so great to be working on FreeCodeCamp and have the tests, because it just makes it really clear, like, yep, I had a goal and I'm learning the goal and I'm this level through completing it. Okay. So adding images, we love to add images to our websites, and we can add them using the image element, img, and point them to using a specific source. So this is what it's going to look like. You're going to have your tag as usual, starting with image, but then inside of the tag, so before you close it out, or before you even, not close out, before you end that whole tag declaration, you're going to put a URL for an image in here. And image elements must have an alt attribute, and this is great for accessibility. It makes it just easier for someone who can't look at the screen as well, follow along. So let's see. It's really decorative. Okay, ideally, Oh, and then here's how that alt tag would look. So here they put this image and then also just put a space, alt equals, and then your description of that image. Time for a bit of a water break. So let's add an image to the website. Perfect. Just what I was thinking. Because it's looking a little bit drab right now. Even if we don't like cats, it's like, at least put an image on it, you know? So inside of this main element, okay, so right here probably, we're going to add an image element and set the source so it points to that URL. Okay, perfect. So img for image, no closing less than sign yet, source equals, and then in quotes, your thing, and don't get that space in there. Okay, so that's great. It's already putting it in there, but we want to close that out to make sure it doesn't affect anything below it. So here there are just a few things to kind of note. We want to have source equals and then these quotation marks and have it in there. So there's kind of like a few things to make sure you get it correct. And then we want to make sure we give it an alt attribute, and let's just say alt equals kitty. Well, let's actually give it kind of a more thorough description. Let's say like orange cat laying upside down. So that'll be kind of clear. It's like, okay, that's basically what they're getting from this photo. Let's run the tests. And a perfect score again. Okay. Link to external pages with anchor elements. So this is kind of what we were talking about at the start of this HTML challenge, is old websites, it would just be a bunch of links back and forth to different web pages. Oh yes, we have a kitty, meow meow meow, rock-a-tee-tee ta ta, ooh la 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 la. Jungle kitty. Oh my god, who's been watching Tiger King? I wonder if we should make a Tiger King tutorial. I mean, everybody in the world is talking about that. It's like, they're either talking about Tiger King or they're talking about, you know? Okay, so A for anchor. I feel like link HTML are probably the most confusing tags when you're first starting, because it's like, why is it A? Why isn't it link? I guess it's because it's an anchor. I don't know. I don't trust the anchor tag, but we're gonna go with it. Well, we don't have a choice. So it's, you have the A tag, and it's similar to the image tag, where inside of here you're gonna have to put this image or the link information. And again, just as annoying, it's like href. It's like, what is href? But that's where you put the link. And I would just suggest copying and pasting this while you're learning, or just pulling it up and typing it out so you can kind of follow along, but don't feel too overwhelmed. And our browser will display. Okay, I have to make this a little bigger so we can see it. So basically what you do is you create the A tag with the href, or where that URL is going to go to, and then inside of the tag you're going to put the text you want to display as that link. So this will links to freecodecamp.org. And we want to create a link element, or an A element. We want to create an A element that links to this link, free cat whatever website, and has cat photos as its anchor tag. So let's say we're to do this. I guess let's do it just right at the top. Why not? So A href equals, and then we got quotes again. And see, when you don't close out the tag, it kind of affects things below the page. So we'll close that out. And then we also still need to add a closing tag because it's still affecting everything on the page. And it's supposed to say cat photos in here. So now here is our cat photos link. And I'm going to hold command while I click it so it opens in a new window. They must have just bought that URL domain, and they're just tricking people who want free cat photos to only be getting to FreeCodeCamp. But we're on to the next challenge. I'll become a monthly supporter of the nonprofit. Perhaps I will do that after this video, since I think they have a lot of really great content. Okay, what are we doing now? What's going on? Our website is getting pretty complicated. Oh, they've added some extra text, which is great. And link to internal sections of a page with anchor elements. So you can link to different pages, but you can also link within the page, so it'll kind of scroll around. You've probably been on a website. It's all one page. When you click it, it scrolls down to like the restaurant menu or the restaurant hours or all those kinds of things. Okay, so to create an internal link, I did not leak my credit card. Ben Smart, I don't think you are that smart. So there. But we are creating links. And to create an internal link, you do the href just as before, but you use the hashtag plus the ID. So we're going to need to learn a little bit about IDs for the element. So here's kind of this code example that's going to be easier to follow. So basically we do href equals the hashtag to the ID, and an ID you can put on any tag, and there's only going to be one of these per page, and this is just what they're naming their ID. Okay, so let's scrunch this down again and read what our challenge is. Oh my god, Ben Smart is going to change their name to Ben Dumb. I think we have to stay on. And that's in the chat. Okay, good. I think the chat is showing up in the stream, so perfect. Perfection. So we're going to change my external link to an internal link, and we're going to go to the footer. And the text from cat photos to jump to bottom. Okay, so we're making just a scroll to the bottom kind of link. So delete this. Hashtag footer. Jump to bottom. And remove the target equals blank. So that's actually something they added. I wonder if we missed that on the last challenge, but just as a review, or if I missed it, target blank opens a link in a new window. So most of the time, if like, let's say you were on some kind of website and they're like, oh, here's more information, you're going to a different page, you don't want that to make them leave your website or have like a million tabs open. So target blank can open things in a new tab, actually. So there are a few different types of ways you can open windows in new ways, and target blank is one of them. So now we've got jump to bottom. We need to add an ID to the footer. Let's scroll down. They've really added a lot for us. ID equals footer. And we don't need a hashtag here because ID indicates that it's that kind of thing. Okay, and I'm just going to give it a test to see if it works. Okay, and it scrolled all the way down. And can I click it again? Yep, and it works again and again. We're on the tests. We are over the top. Next challenge time. Let's see. All right. Okay, what do they have us doing here? Nest an anchor element within a paragraph. So this is kind of what we saw with main, I guess, where we have these two paragraph tags in our main. And what you can also do is you could put a link inside of a paragraph. So if you want to have kind of like, I don't know, you have a paragraph and you say, oh, I wrote this nice essay over here, and you can change the text to be a link to it so it's easier for people to find that. So let's see if there's any other information here that they wanted to share. Oh my god, they really write a lot here. And some of it, they could just scrunch it down a lot more so it wouldn't be as cumbersome if it's your first time coding. Or even if it's not your first time coding. but that's why you've got me, so don't worry about it. Next is the anchor element. Okay. Okay, now we're going to nest an A element, a link element, in a new paragraph element, just after main. Okay, that says view more cat photos. Okay, let's just start with that, because that's like enough to get moving. P, view more cat photos. P. Okay, the paragraph's done. Cat photos is a link, and the rest is plain text. Okay, so we do A, and I close that out, but we need to put our href in there. And I don't think they provided the link. Href equals, I guess I'll go to this free cat website that they recommended. Cat photos is the link, and I have to close that out right before the paragraph tag. Oh, I wonder if I should have just copied this thing. Well, I guess we can do that too. Why not? Why not? We love to copy and paste code on this channel. View more cat photos. And we got it. We got it. Oh my god, good. You can make the whole page now? Perfect. Perfect. Sometimes you want to add A elements to your website before you know where they're going to link. What? I mean, okay, sure. Like, I don't know if I've encountered that. It's like I would just put in a random website. But let's see what they're saying. I guess it's also like if you're doing JavaScript stuff with HTML and you might be changing links, I guess maybe you're going to do this. So currently, basically they want us to create a dead link just to the hashtag. Another kind of easy challenge, but also like a lot of writing. So let's run the tests. Okay, that was an easy one, and like I wouldn't worry about that one too much right now. Turn images into a link. Okay, this is actually a fun one, and this is pretty easy. So basically, like how we wrap text in a link, we can just wrap our image in that link too. So place this image element into, let's copy it all, let's cut it out actually, get rid of cat photos, we just cut it over it. And now when we hover over it, we've got this kind of pointer cursor. It should be letting us click this, so I'm not sure what that's all about. Oh, I guess the link is dead, so she's dead. Oh my god, we are 50% complete. What a win. Oh, I mean, we've already learned. Let's just kind of review for a sec. I wonder if this next session is going to be a review. Okay, well, it's not, so I just want to review like in 30 minutes, and I would recommend watching this at 2x speed. If you're watching it back later, I guess I should say that at the start. We know how to do headings. We know main sections, paragraphs, links, images. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like, that's a pretty good amount to just get started if you've never coded before. And now we're going to dive into a few new elements. Okay, we saw this actually in the first page where they were saying what you're going to build in this website. So here they're talking about unordered lists or bullet style lists. And basically this will just make a bulleted list of milk and cheese. I don't know why they don't show it, because sometimes they show these examples. I guess not for this one. No worries though, because we're going to see it right as we code. Remove the last two paragraphs and create an unordered list of 3 things that cats love at the bottom of the page. Okay, so just from removing these, great. And so we want to do unordered list, and we'll close it out too. Okay. So now in an unordered list, we do list item. I don't know, what do cats like? Other cats? I don't know. They like, oh, I guess milk and cheese. That's not how I do a tag. Milk. I keep trying to do a cheese tag and there is no HTML cheese tag. Okay. What did I do? Oh my god. So I guess I messed up my end tags. So it was giving me an extra bullet point, which we did not want. So now we've got our 3 things in this list. And let's run the tests. And we've got our bulleted list. And now we're going to do an ordered list. I hope we don't have to retype these out. Ugh, things cats hate. So ordered list, you do it the same way, except instead of UL, you have an OL. So it's things cats hate, definitely me. Can I just put me 3 times? Ugh. LI. And one thing to kind of think about, it's like, yeah, this is kind of a pain when you're typing it out manually, but if you were doing this with code, you would probably have some sort of like array or some sort of list data type in your code that could go through all the elements and just print out list item, your element, and then the end list item tag. So it's really good to know about how to kind of do these parts of code, because when you get into more advanced things with code, you're going to want to know, oh, how can I generate a website like this with more advanced code? But if you don't know how to do that, then what are you going to do? Okay. Things cat hate the most. Me. 100% me. I'll do me again. And then my allergies. Meow. Going to the next challenge. Okay, we're creating a web form. Wow, they are really just taking it there. Web forms are so important, so it's great that you're seeing this in this first tutorial. I mean, every website you kind of log into, there's a form. Whenever you're doing a survey, there's a form. There's just so many use cases for forms. So, or you're putting your name into a site. That's a form. Forms. Okay, so we want to get an input. We would use the input type text. Okay, create an input element of text below the list. Okay, we're just copying. I'm going to type it in because you should be typing it in if you're trying to learn this for the first time. Even though I might be an expert coder, I don't want you to develop bad habits when you're learning to code. Not that copying and pasting is a bad habit. It's just that you want to make sure you understand what you're copying and pasting, and if it's your first time seeing this, it'll be good to build the muscle memory of typing it out and learning it that way. So there are a few kinds of ways you're learning this. You're typing it out, you're listening to me talk about it, you're reading about it. So having even 3 ways to learn this material should really lock it in for you. And another test that we've passed. Okay. And then, I didn't even take a look at it. I was like, form, input, whatever. But here is our input. We can type whatever we want into it. And they want us to put some placeholder text so that whenever you see something in here, whenever you see something in there, or when you haven't written something in there, it will show you, it'll show you some stuff. Oh, and also input tags are self-closing. These are one of the few tags that we didn't, I guess also images. These are one of the few tags that we don't need kind of to do /input right after. Okay, but it wants us to add a placeholder text. So let's say let me type it correctly. Placeholder equals cat photo URL, I guess. I would say copy and pasting kind of like text, and placeholder text is fine when you're learning to code though, because it's like, typing cat photo URL isn't going to make me a better programmer. But acing this challenge is yes. Okay, HTML, create a form element. Oh, and let's also take a look. So, okay, so now before we type anything in it, it says cat photo URL, and now when we type stuff, it goes away. But if I delete it, we're good. So we can build a web form that submits data to a server. So this is kind of another thing. So it's like when you submit your form, and this can get a little complicated, but you're smart, you got this. When you submit your form, it sends that data to a server maybe, or maybe runs some script. So you want to be able to get that information, and a good way to do that is with a form element. Oh my god, what am I clicking? I guess they have, when you hover over any elements, you can go to some more of the information. So this is actually a really great way if you want to learn more of the details about forms, more of the kinds of like settings you can use for a form. So that's great to go explore on your own some more. And let's put this in a form. Form, just start the form the regular way. Form. And the action it wants us to take is submit cat photo. So I'll type that out. Action equals, and the action is basically it's going to send you to a URL, or it's going to send that information to a URL. Submit cat photo. And nothing in the visuals is going to change here. And you'll notice some elements like main and form, they didn't really change the visuals, but you can use CSS, which is kind of like a way to style this HTML and apply styles that way, or you can just kind of use those to keep things organized, so they're easier to manage and easier to read your code. Add a submit form. Okay, we've got our form. We got to submit it. So basically we're going to use a button. We're going to use a button. We're going to throw it inside of the form. So button, and then you need to specify the kind of type of button. So this is a submit button. I think what are the other types of buttons? It gives us some autocomplete. I'm testing like every single letter to see. I feel like submit. I think submit is the only, I guess there's button. There's type button and type submit. So we're going to do type submit. And I use tab to do that autocomplete. And autocomplete is another really great tool to kind of get comfortable with in whatever place you're developing your code, whether it's FreeCodeCamp or in a code editor. It's good for you to kind of know how to use it. Okay, so we close that out, and that type submit is inside of the button. And let's just give it the text submit / button. I'm just going to put this on a new line so it's kind of more clear. Okay. Let's see. Should I submit it? I'm going to just submit it. I'm going to see what happens. So the input goes inside of the form. Okay. So yeah, this is a great question. So yeah, just to like give an overview, because there's actually like a lot of stuff we've gone through in here. So we've got a form, and this is going to put all this information. We have an input inside of this form, which is type text, as this placeholder. And we can actually you could put a bunch of different inputs here. So you'd have like, what's your first name? What's your last name? Those kinds of things. Or you can even do things like a radio button. I don't know if this is going to show up. Yeah, so you could do like a radio button style thing where you'd have like a choice you'd have to make. And you can have lots of information. And then inside of the form also, we have a submit button. So by putting the button inside of this kind of form, similar to what we did with like the unordered lists and what we did with main, it makes sure that it submits this specific action. It takes this specific action. So what's going to happen if we actually do this? So if I submit hi and click submit, I'm nervous we're going to like lose our progress. Okay, so it did nothing, but I assume in the next step, we're going to learn what's going on. So thank you for the question, and do not hesitate to ask more. Let's run the test. I was like, maybe I didn't even do any of that correctly. So go to the next challenge. We love a challenge. Give me a coding challenge, and I'll give you what you like. Follow code, baby, and just like on 100 Days of Code. Okay, what can we do? We could require, it wants to use to require a field. Make your text. Okay, so sometimes like you're filling a form and you need to like, it needs to know what your name is. Like, if what's your first name, then that's kind of what we use like required for, because it's like you definitely need to know that name. Hi exo cutie. So can you do something similar, like a cancel button that would clear everything? So yes, you could totally do a cancel button that would clear everything. One thing that's really common is to do like a cancel button that takes you back a page. So you could even do a button that's a link. So based on what we know so far, we could do, you'd wrap the button inside of a link tag. So that would kind of look like this: a href equals back, and then close that out. I think it does this. I think that's how you do it. I'd have to kind of play around with it and have a real link. But you, oh no, I don't want to delete that. But yeah, that's how you would do that. And if you did want to have it like another button that's like clear everything out, you could do that, but you would need to write a script that would do that. So you could do that with JavaScript. Probably a really good way to cheat and do that would even just to be refresh that same page. Because if you're on the page that has the form and your form is going to start out empty when you load the page, it's like, might as well just refresh the page, and then you don't have to get complicated with it. Okay, so we want to require this element, make our text input required, so user can't submit without completing this form. Oh my god, we're scrunching down our final view just because we need a little bit more room. And to make it required, we literally just put the word required anywhere inside of this input box. So we'll just type required. I'm going to put these all on their own line, so there's a little bit more room. And the white space, or like kind of the spacing of all these things, doesn't really change how the code gets executed. Like if you, let me show you with this like list item. So in like flea treatment, let's put like a lot of spaces. So we put like 10 spaces in between flea treatment, but it really only treats it as one space. So in HTML, and there are ways you can get around this, and there are certain tags you can use. But HTML is going to treat all white space kind of equally. So if it's a long stretch of spaces or a long tab, it's still going to treat it as one. So even if we add some new lines in here, it's not going to like mess anything up with our code. And what you can use to take advantage of using that to like organize your code and make it more readable. So that's kind of what we did here by putting these all on their own line. Just because we're working in a really scrunched window, and if they're all on their own line, it'll just read a little bit more easily. Oh, and this is a really nice thing they added. So we can collapse these. If we look in here, there are these little arrows. So it's a great way to also just reduce the code in here and reduce how much room things are taking up, and to see what's being nested. So we've got all these like lists up here, but we don't need to really look at them. So we can collapse them. We could collapse, well, we don't want to collapse main. And now it's just our whole window is a lot shorter. So you can get a better overview of like, oh, is this in main? Scroll all the way up and see it like that. So we added required. I think that's all we had to do for this section. Oh, I guess we should submit the form and see what happens. And without it, okay, so that's really cool. So just by adding one word, it's going to give us this great message saying, please fill out this form. Or please fill out this field on this form. I'm going to take some water break. I hope you are all staying very hydrated and eating well during this time. Hydrate, eating well. What are we doing? So yeah, so we just added one thing and we get a required. We get a please fill out this form, and that's done by the browser. So different browsers might have a different way they handle that. They might pop up something different, but it's really great if you use that, because Google Chrome, they've probably translated that into every language and have made it in a way that makes it clear for all kinds of different people of different areas. So anyone who's going to fill out this form is going to get a message that's going to be helpful to them. Okay, let's run the tests, go to the next section. Create create a set of radio buttons. Oh, I showed you one of these earlier. And this is actually such a great video because I've been playing around with like a gender submission form, and all this stuff comes up, like doing a text input, doing radio buttons. If you're asking someone for what's their gender, or all sorts of things like that, you're going to want to understand how these radio buttons work. How does the text input work? And if you can learn a little bit about that, then you can kind of take part in building this technology around you and help make sure that people like us are going to be represented. Use radio buttons for questions. I've been talking about radio buttons, but I haven't even really shown you what they are. Basically, if you have a set of options, do they give a good example here? No. So basically, if you are maybe like the most basic example is like, what is your sex? Maybe you'll get a radio button that's like male or female. And obviously, maybe we'd want to add more options, but you'll kind of see it in just like 1 second when we add them. So radio buttons are an input type. So that's we saw when we change input type to radio, that's kind of how we get a radio button. And then each radio button we put in a label element so we can specify which label it is. So they show it right here. So, and then we also need to have a name attribute, which gives the like kind of the value of it, I think. And then next inside this is all kind of in the label, and input doesn't have the closing tag. This is like a little overwhelming. There's so much here, but really let's break it down. So we have input, we have our input tag, which is the type radio, and it has a name attribute. And we don't use a closing tag with inputs. And then right after that, you don't need a tag for any of your HTML. You can kind of just put it all out there, but that's not really how any websites work, and it would become a big jumbled mess. So then we have indoor, which is specifying like what the user, whoever's on this website is going to see. And the label is kind of containing the radio button and the name. And what does it also want to see? We should set a for attribute for the label. So I guess these things need to just be the same, which helps do some code stuff. I'm clearly so descriptive here. The most descriptive code stuff. Okay, let's add our first radio button. We're going to add a pair of radio buttons to the form, each on a label. One's indoor, one's outdoor, and they should have the name attribute. Okay, so I guess the name is going to be the same for all the radio buttons inside of one property. Even I'm learning some stuff here. I was like, I want to do some code streaming, and I was nervous to do HTML because I was like, I feel like I know a lot of it, but it's a great review for me to kind of learn some of the best practices. And it's always good to just stay learning. If you're an engineer, if you're a coder, things are always changing and you want to be up to date. So we're going to start by making a label. We're going to close that label out. Okay. And now we want to do our input, and we'll have name equals, the name's going to be indoor, outdoor, because that's kind of the question we're asking. Let's give it an ID, and let's give it the ID as the first thing. So IDs are going to be unique across all the pages. You can use them for styling. You can use them for scripting. So you want this ID to kind of be the first thing someone sees when they're looking at an element. And that's just my personal preference. There might be other people who have different opinions. They might want to alphabetically sort these, but I'm not one of those people. ID equals indoor. And then I guess they'd also recommended we do a for indoor. So this is just matching this. The thing in here in this for is for this ID. And name indoor type equals radio. And let's again kind of put these all on their own lines just so it's a little clearer. And it looks like it's on its own line because it's scrunched down, but if it doesn't have a line number, are these on the side, it does not have its own line. And I'm just going to bring your attention to line numbers. These are a great way if you're learning to code, watching a stream like this. You can say, oh, what's that thing on line 20? I don't understand that. And it's really easy for me or for someone else to identify quickly, where is that thing you're asking about? How can I help you and get you the right information quickly? Okay, we have to close this input. And you'll notice the colors have changed kind of because of that. So any place you're coding is probably going to try to help you out and make sure the colors line up with what your kind of mental model of the code is. And we want this to say indoor. We have to write so much code just to get one little measly radio button. So that's our first radio button. And after all that, I'm fully going to just copy this down. But it's fine because we wrote it ourselves. So it's great to kind of write a little bit, copy a little bit. Outdoor is our new label. Outdoor, outdoor. So let's see what we've got. Okay, so now we can have either indoor or outdoor. And because they're sharing the same name, it's only gonna let us select one of those. So I think that's all for this challenge. So we completed it. Next challenge party. I need to make like a soundboard for streaming. I'm new to streaming, but thank you all for hanging in with me. I think this is going pretty well so far in terms of the screen is up, the camera is on me. I should actually do a little tutorial on how to do live streaming for all these amazing drag queens that are doing kind of like live shows, because I just feel like it's so complicated to get started on it, and if I can get more queens to stream, that would be fantastic. Okay. I need to reorient myself. We've done, oh my god, we're doing so much. Okay, so now they want us to do checkboxes. And I'm pretty sure these are going to be basically the same as the radio buttons, except they're going to be except you can select multiples of them, and the type is checkbox. Add to the form a set of 3 checkboxes, and they should share the name. What? All 3 should share the name attribute of personality. Okay, so we're making a checkbox for personality types. I'm going to copy where are my radio buttons? Okay, they're here. We really gotta scrunch things out. I might make this just a little bit bigger. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit, just so there's some more room for me to read. Okay, so that's all in the label. 1. And the name is personality, so I'm just gonna change that first before I copy and paste any more. Personality. Okay, so we've got 3. I'm gonna say nice. Nice as a person. Isn't being nice a personality? I mean, who knows? Is being a twink is not a personality. It says like grinder aesthetics. Oh my god. Some of these gay Facebook groups they got so much drama in there. Nice, kind. Kind could be a personality. Sure, why not? Kind. Then maybe let's just make this last one good. So you can be good and kind. If you're good and kind, you are geind. That's a word some of my friends and I would use to describe just people who are good and kind when we were in high school. We obviously had so many people in our lives who were fully good and kind. Oh wait, we had to make all these check boxes. That's the whole challenge. What are we doing? Anna, you mess. You mess. Okay, so now we can click these, and actually we can click multiple of them. We can choose indoor, outdoor, all sorts of the combinations, which is perfect. And one thing you might not be able to tell just because my mouse might be a little small on the stream is I don't actually have to click the checkbox to activate it. I can click the word. So I can do that for indoor, I can do that for the radio buttons, and I can do that for these checkboxes. So that's because we have the label wrapping everything around it. And that's just another really great user experience thing to think about is you don't want someone to have to find this little button and click it. If someone can click the whole text, that makes just so much more room for someone using a website to click it. Okay, we are at 82%, and I feel like we're just going to stick to this HTML challenge for this stream. I mean, maybe I'll take a break for some food for myself and then come back on and do a JavaScript or CSS challenge. But I'll kind of see how this, I'll see what's up. I'll see what's up. Okay. When a form gets submitted, the data is sent to a server. Oh my god. The data is sent to a server. What server, Mama? Do we have a server? Well, you might have noticed my little squirrel. It's a brass shoehorn. It is so chic. Hi. I feel like when I first started out streaming, I had this in my background, and then I switched to like a more green screen effect, and I'll definitely bring that back. But I was just like, first streaming, I don't want to set everything up. We're just going to deal with the basics, and we're slowly going to get better. And just like you're slowly going to get better at code, I'm slowly going to get better at live streaming. Okay, so when we submit the form, we send it to a server. We spoke about that a little bit ago. Radio and checkbox. Okay, so radio buttons and checkboxes, they're going to report their values from the value attribute. I feel like we need to write the same value so many times with these. It's like indoor, indoor, indoor. We get it. It's an indoor cat. Okay, so let's see, because it's giving us a little tip, which I think is going to be good to read. So if we exclude this value attribute, then the form data uses the default value, which is on. If the user clicked the indoor option and submitted the form, the form data would... Oh, okay, I kind of see. That's kind of nice. So basically we have this name, indoor, outdoor. So whenever we send this to a server for our like check, or I guess these ones are the radio buttons, it's going to send the information indoor, outdoor has this value. So if we don't provide values, it's just going to say that it's on. And that's not helpful because we have multiple values. But like, let's say you had a checkbox and the checkbox was, I don't know, check if you're gay. And it checks it, then it would say gay equals on. And, oh my God, I'm gonna like snatch my perfectly human hair right off my head. And so yeah, so I guess by setting a value, we're gonna be able to say like indoor, outdoor equals indoor. So let's do it. We're going to add the values and give it a go. Oh my God, there's so much code here. We're just going to move some of these to the side so there's a little bit more room. Name equals indoor. Type. Oh, we got rid of our IDs. That's so bizarre that they would get rid of them when they told us it's a good idea if you have the IDs and use them. You know, shouldn't be giving inconsistent information. FreeCodeCamp. Your info might be free, but it should be good. I feel like with everything that's free, people like just love to kind of complain and give their 2 cents. And it's like, Mama, it's free. You don't got to use it. Okay, I think that's all we had to do. Oh. Oh my God. Hi, Elena, whichever one's correct. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. Leave a like on the video. Thanks for joining in on the chat. I guess we need to give the radio button, we need to give the checkboxes their values too. They really kind of messed up the formatting that we had done. And they changed these values. Like, come on. I thought we got creative with it and it would let us keep it. But when we're making our own website, we're going to do it our own way. Lazy. Ugh, that's me. It's like I'm so lazy, but it's like I'll also spend hours getting into drag and live stream myself coding. So it's like, I guess I'm not that lazy. Run the test. Okay, thank God. 86%. I'm fully gonna make some chicken nugs once we complete this challenge. So, cheer for that. Cheer for that. We can set a checkbox. Okay, so basically you can turn on, you can set a default value. This is kind of required, and that's a one value thing, and it just makes things a little bit easier. So we're gonna set the first one to be on. I think this is actually what I would recommend doing too if you are, I made it worse actually. If you're coding a form, I would recommend making the first option checked as well, especially if it's a required option. If it's not required, then don't check it. Okay, so value, indoor, let's put checked there. What's the first one here? Loving. If you're working in a real development environment and have more room on the screen and aren't streaming, then this will all be a little bit clearer for you. You can stretch out the screen, although even if you're watching this on a phone, you could probably get a keyboard like I have, just a Bluetooth keyboard, and do this on your phone or do this on your tablet. You don't need a nice computer to do this. It's all in the browser. All super easy to do. 89%. I think we have 3 more challenges. Iconic. Oh my god, we're getting the div element. The div element, divs are really useful. And it's divs are really useful and they do nothing. So basically divs are just another way to structure your element. They're dividers. Dividers. And these are just, it's going to help you divide up your page. When you're doing styling, you want to do different kinds of grids and different kinds of layouts, and divs are what you're going to use for all of that. Next are things cats love and things cats hate in a single div. Okay. What's this hint? Put the div opening. Put your div. Try putting your div opening. One moment. Try putting your opening div tag above the things cats love p element and close what? Close in your closing div tag after your closing OL tag so that both lists are in it. Okay, yeah, so we're just going to include the paragraphs in this. That's fine. I don't really know if that's a hint. It's more a strong and useful suggestion. So we did div and then did a closing tag here. Yes, 93%. We are on a race to becoming HTML coding wizards and witches and non-binary or non-gender conforming magical people. Declare the doc type. Okay, so this is kind of when things get real. They're we've been hiding stuff from you. And a lot of code, when you're learning to code, a lot of coding tutorials will definitely hide things from you, which is great because you don't want to be overwhelmed with everything at once. So basically what this is saying is at the start of each web page, you kind of put a doc type. What's the reason for that? I'm going to give this a read because I know you do it, but I don't know why. So we need to tell the browser which version of HTML our page is using. HTML constantly changes and is updated regularly. And most major browsers, they're going to support the latest version. So if you're on Internet Explorer 6, you're probably not going to get support. And older web pages might or older web, what is it? Oh yeah. So also if you're on an old website, it might be using HTML4. So we put this in by saying doc type HTML. And I guess exclamation mark and doc type being capitalized are important, especially for older browsers, and HTML is not case sensitive. It's how does it know that it's the latest HTML though? Maybe just because it's HTML it knows it's the latest? I don't know. Go look that up and leave it as a comment if you figure it out. And the rest of our HTML needs to be wrapped in the HTML tags. This is kind of like what we did with our main. We just put everything in main, but now we're going to put everything in HTML. So we're going to put doc type for HTML5, do opening and closing HTML tags, and put an H1 element in it, and we can put anything in there. Perfect. Exclamation mark, doc type, HTML. Just pressing tab that gave us all that. HTML opening tag, I'm going to do a few empty lines, closing HTML tag. H1, we can code. We can code. Sorry, I got it. We can code. Lots of opening and closing tags we have learned in this lesson with your favorite coding queen. A whole world of code. Cancel me. Literally, just cancel me. But subscribe to me before you cancel and like the video. 96% complete. Okay, define head and the body. The body is here. Okay, so inside of HTML tags, you're going to have a title section. Or no, what is it? You're going to have a head section. How's your head? And a body section, body, yada yada. And in the head, you basically put like a lot of like what your styles are, what your scripts are, like what your page title is. So if you look up here, it says like learn basic HTML. That's like in the head of this web page. Okay, so we want to add a head element. Okay, and something like the title. Okay, so here it is, the best page ever. That's going to be in the head. Head, so we put that in here, head, and then body will go right after it, and we're just scrolling down. Body, run the tests. Oh my god, 100%, 100%, we did it. Okay, I already sang like recently, so let's cool it. Okay, another question for the ads. Someone was like, you shared your credit card info earlier. It was like, if my credit card is 1234, 1234, 1234, 1234, well, I feel like I have bigger problems. Okay, so it's bringing us to this next lesson, which is Introduction to Basic CSS. And I'm actually going to stop at this stream just for the moment. Let's transition back to the main camera because I am so hungry. I want to get some nugs, quarantine and nugs and Netflix. But I hope you had a super fun time joining me for this stream. If you want to come stream more with me, please let me know. If there are some of these challenges you want me to do, let me know. I will probably do CSS and JavaScript. These are the kind of code and web browser trifectas. So these are the best things to learn when you're starting out coding because you're instantly going to be able to build a website right away. All that stuff I just showed you, you could throw into kind of like your own file, open a text editor like Sublime. I would recommend downloading that because it's free and easy. Put all the stuff you just learned in there into a website, put an image. I have some beginner HTML tutorials if you want to learn about more of that from me. And that's just like a really fun thing you can do while kind of the world's falling apart and while we're in quarantine, and helping keep yourself safe. So I'm just going to end the stream right now. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like on the video, comment, subscribe, ring the bell so you make sure you don't miss more of these amazing streams. And I'm self-proclaiming that they are amazing. Thank you all for joining. A special shout out to Distract, to Ben Smart or Ben Dumb, XO Cutie, Alana. It was great to have you in my stream for a bit. So thank you.